Hi, everybody. My name is Brittney, and I worked on this project with America. Um, I started out with intergenerational testimonials, a family story across two generations. And in this project, you will hear from my mother, Rebecca, who is 64, and my sister, Cassandra, who is 41. And their experiences are different, but they share a lot of common themes of um, wanting to belong, identity, resilience. Their voices reflect the idea of testimonials that we studied in class. We explore the identity and early experiences. My mother talked about growing up in two worlds, where she was teased by her cousins for not being Mexican enough. And on the other end of that spectrum, she was picked on at the kids at her school because she was brown and she wasn't white enough. Um, so some lessons that she learned here was that identity can place a huge conflict. Whereas in my sister Cassandra's identity was shaped more by survival. She became a mother at a very young age and had battled drug addiction and loss. So there was a lot of complex layers to her story that dealt with various narratives that my mother had no experience with. But both stories connect to Anzadula's borderlands. They lived in the space between cultures for long before they could even name it. So, belonging and displacement. Both interviews repeat the same theme. Belonging was never simple to my mother. She felt pushed out of spaces that should have held her. And my sister floated through school without any real connections and always felt like the outsider. So, hearing these stories reminded me of the racial formation and how identity is shaped by systems long before a person even realizes it. So both of them learned to make space for themselves because the world didn't have a space for them. Then when we dive a little bit deeper into family culture and food, even though both of them had fractured experiences to an extent, food was the place where everything came together. They talked about cooking. My sister spoke about cooking with our Nana. My mother spoke about cooking with her abuela, and how the recipes have been passed down, learning to make rice or capirotada, salsa, beans, all of it. So food became the language of care and connection within the family. And this connects directly to Ben Mayor's work on cultural memory. So everyday practices become archives of identity. They hold pieces of their past in ways that words really can't. Then, as we move through, we enter the trauma and healing and resilience. And so, my sister was extremely honest about her childhood experiences with the abuse that she faced and addiction and moments that shaped her life. And she talked about relapse, survival, and choosing to rebuild herself for her children. Whereas my mother talked about emotional wounds she still carries, relating to the loss of her father and how my Nana, her mother, chose to raise them moving forward. She became a stern authoritarian figure, whereas before the loss of her husband, she was a more light, loving figure. Healing is layered and ongoing. And they also reveal how trauma passes from generation to generation. So then when we broach the idea of media and visibility, when my mother was speaking, this was something she had never really thought about. And so when I had her dig a little deeper, they both, in both interviews, they both came to the conclusion that whiteness is heavily dominated on every form of the screen. And people who look like my mother or the families that looked similar to my sisters were often rare and reduced to stereotypes. So hearing them reflect on that made me think about how media shapes self-worth. When you never see yourself reflected, you learn to shrink parts of who you are. And this connects to our class discussion about visibility and harm of stereotype portrayals. When we moved on and discussed mental health and cultural silence, both interviews showed a little how mental health was talked about within our family. The stress or sadness where you keep your problems inside the house. My sister shared how her silence shaped her childhood and inevitably, resulted in her running away. Mom's version, um, talking out loud about anything revolving around mental health was not really practiced within the home. And she went further on to talk about even seeking care from the doctor after her father had passed away. They were not in a financially safe place. So um, going to the doctors was only under extreme duress. And when we went further and we started talking about rebuilding identity and what our hopes are for the next generation, what surprised me most was how much hope was um, present in both interviews. Both of them described their children as their greatest accomplishments. Both of them talked about wanting to give the next generation something better than what they had. And this reminds me that culture is not fixed. It can be rebuilt and built up stronger, and it doesn't have to look identical to someone else's. It lives in the way that we choose to heal and how we show up for ourselves and show up for our next generation.
How has your life different from what you imagined? Well, I guess when you're a kid growing up, you see like movies, TV shows, and you assume that you're gonna, have a career and you're gonna have a home and, you're gonna put your kids in sports and, all of that stuff. And your kids are gonna have to have braces and all this, and it's just gonna be a tidy little life, and it's not. Um, my life is very different from what I envisioned as a child. I've gone through so many struggles. Even now, I'm 41 years old, and money's always tight. You know, uh, uh, if you ask mom, like, or say I'm talking to mom about something, right? And she'll say, like, you guys make a lot of money. You should be able to afford that. And I'm like, okay, but let's be realistic. Between every fucking bill that we have to pay now and how much food costs and having two adult children in the house and then a 10-year-old, like, things are not cheap, and making sure that we have everything that we need. It's not cheap to live. You don't realize how much people struggle. You don't realize that when you're a kid. You don't realize what the adults are thinking about money, my bank account, paying bills, having money to be able to afford to take your kids on a little vacation, because that is really something that, we grew up doing. And so we try to maintain that. And it can be hard. It can be a struggle. And I stress about money all the time. That is literally my life, stressing about money and what I'm going to bake on Friday. But what was the question again? How is your life different from what you imagined? I guess it's just not a tidy little buttoned up life like I had envisioned for myself. I thought I would settle down one day and things would just fall into place, but that is absolutely not the case. You have to fight for what you want. And um, yeah, I'm still fighting.
Oh, I'm glad my life turned out the way it did. I'm sorry that it didn't end the way I wanted it to with your dad, but it was a good life.
Yeah.
We had a really good life. And fun.
Yeah. Your path.
All I can say is that being raised a Mexican was not ever the hugest influence in my life growing up. It was not. My mom never really pushed that.
Mm-hmm.
It was not real strong. It was, to her, be loyal to your family, be loyal to your brothers and your sisters. And, that's it. It wasn't,
Hey, my name is Vanessa, and this is my portion of the presentation. I was originally going to interview my sisters, but I was not able to, unfortunately, but I was able to interview a classmate. This is Katarina's story, telling about learning, aspirations, and goals. Some key themes I found from just listening to her was not ready for the mold. Family background is important to memory. Interesting types of traditions, representation matters, and represented stuff. Class connections, testimonial is something we've always talked about when we talk about how to in class. Her story was one of determination, of how she battled through hardships to be the nation's today. Valuable capitals and roles, as mentioned in Tarayosa's article, which I presented on way at the beginning of the semester, about how the institutions she attended, her experiences, won't be able to proper communication. As a typical first generation Latina, she's in two worlds and communities, navigating through life, helping others in similar situations. And that's kind of what I thought about when thinking of Nepantla, a section from Ansalva's article. Female capital and community as well. She is from a small town in Oaxaca, where they speak Mixteco, and she mentioned it's a dying/fading language, and she thinks that it should be preserved or kept alive. These are the different sections. We talked about where she's from, her traditions, social experiences, media, and preserved culture. We talked about more further. Healthcare, we sort of connected. Our families share a lot of beliefs when it comes to healing. She mentioned for the fourth part of the interview that she wants to be sort of a guide for people who are similar to her, so to sort of that it can be done with hard work and determination. Like, there will be hardships, but you can achieve your goals. We talked about colorism, with the failure to capture the representation of Latinos in when she was growing up. Lack of help, this help made her grow up isolated from her peers. Cultural upkeep, such as her dying language, or just traditions in general, and the connections I made were media and visualization, as well as valuable capital and molds, and familial capital and community. Through her, I learned a lot of things about how we are wildly different from one another, regardless of how similar we're both Latinas, we both have roots in Mexico, but we're vastly different because at the end of the day, we are all different from one another, and that is one thing.
Go to our closing reflections. We see a lot of testimonials as future facing, and Anzendula remembering the self. Again, the takeaways here is that stories carry history, and hearing them spoken about openly made the past feel real and shape the way we understand our own identity. I want to thank you all and have a nice evening.